Hi everyone, this is a beko WTL82051W. This is the Eco 4060 version, so it's the 2021 onwards version. And this will apply for any of the WTLs with this fascia and also the WTKs, and I don't actually know if the other two ranges had this design, but anything with this design fascia released from 2021 onwards, this will apply for. So, this is a very simplistic design. It's temps on dial and no additional options. So we'll start out with obviously the on-off position. So at the very top here, this is when it's pointed towards the top, it will be the off position, and this is indicated by a very hard to see little what do you call this? A bit that sticks out of the dial, and it's very hard to see unless you're looking straight at it. So when the dial gets to around here, you'll start seeing it. Anyway, so turn it on by moving it to the right. So we start out with Cson 20. This is obviously performed at 20 degrees only. This will take about, I think it's 2 hours or so, maybe 3 hours. This machine does have quite long cycle times. So that will obviously heat to 20 degrees, and this is basically sort of like it's part of the new Eco 4060 standard, because you have to have Eco 4060 and a 20 degree cycle that's Cson based on the display, on the fascia I mean. So we'll move on. We got Coson's 40, which is about 3.5 hours, and that will heat to 40. That is basically the same as the Cson 20 program, but just 40. We have Eco 4060. Now this is basically replace the old Cson Eco 40 cycle that would have been in the same place, and this will heat depending on the load that you put in. So if you put in a very small load, it will basically not heat, and it will use less water, and it will wash for a shorter period of time. If you put in slightly bigger load, it will heat probably to about 30 or so, somewhere between 25 and 30, and it will wash for a bit longer, use a little bit more water. If you put in a full load, it will heat to about 40, 35, 40, somewhere between there. It will use more water, it will wash for a lot longer. I think it's 3.5 hours. It's about the same as Cson 40, maybe slightly longer. And it will obviously, do a powerful final spin, which I believe holds for 5 minutes at 1200. So yeah, moving on, we've got Cson 60. Now this is Eco 60, don't get it confused with a traditional 60. It will act very much the same as the Eco 4060 cycle. In fact, I'm pretty sure these are just the Cson Eco 40 and Cson Eco 60 cycles just renamed for the new energy label. So yeah, exact same principle as Eco 4060. Small load uses very little water, doesn't heat. Medium load heats a bit, uses a bit more water, and full load uses lots of water and heats to about 35, 40. And again, powerful final spin, long hold, 5 minutes at 1200. We now move on to the Cson 60 with pre-wash. Now this is the 60 degree program, so it will heat to 60 degrees. The annoying thing is you have to have it with a pre-wash, and this is one of my main gripes with this machine. There is no 60 degree cycle anywhere on the dial that doesn't have a pre-wash, not even a synthetic 60, and that is one of many things that annoys me, because 60 degrees is my favourite temperature, and I wash a lot of stuff on 60. So yeah, this is really good for heavily soiled stuff actually, things that need a pre-wash. For example, things that have bodily fluids on, maybe you want to pre-wash those before you wash them, and then you want to give them maybe even a 90, so you cancel it after the pre-wash and put it on 90 instead. But if it's something that can't survive 90, for example, you might want to use that program. Otherwise, I can't really see people using that, to be honest. They got Coson's 90 next, which is down here. This will heat to about 75, 80 degrees on this machine, and it will wash very intensively and for a long time. About 3 hours again, load dependent. Obviously smaller loaded washers for a bit less. Again, 1200 spin. This is the standard 1200 spin. Not much else to say about that. Rinse. This will perform one softener rinse and a normal Cson 1200 final spin. Spin and drain will perform a full Cson 1200 spin. Obviously you can adjust to 1000, 800, 600. You can do a drain only by deselecting everything. That'll take about 12 minutes or so. You've got drum clean, which is performed at, the manual says 90, so I'm going to presume that's correct. I've not tried it myself. 600 spin, but you can also turn that off. You can't go higher than 600. And this is for obviously cleaning the drum. So you put something like citric acid in, or a washing machine cleaner, and you'll run it through this cycle. But don't put anything into the drum, because this will run a pre-wash to basically make sure you've not loaded anything. So if it detects any decrease in the water level, it will not run the cycle, it will abort. And we got Downwear 40, which is next. And this is for all of your down-filled items, so down jackets, down pillows. You could try and wash a down duvet in there. I don't know how well that would fit. But anyway, that washes at 40 and it spins at 1000. I'm not sure how long this one takes. But yeah, I wish there was an option for 60, but obviously being temp on dial, I understand this one because they're quite limited on space. So that one's fine. Now we're moving on to synthetic 20, and obviously this washes at 20. It does allow the full 1200, which I like, and I think this takes about 2 hours or so based on the synthetic 40 program that I ran. Obviously up next, synthetic 40, same as before, just heats to 40, lasts about 2 hours or so, and again allows the full 1200. Hand wash 40 for more of your delicate items, things like wool and stuff that you don't want to get washed vigorously. You'll put that on this cycle, heats to 40, which is good. And then you can also spin up to the full 1200, which I do like that. But you can obviously decrease it if you wish, all the way down. Next up we've got shirts 40. This is good for all your shirts. Things you don't want to get creased, you can also put on this cycle. It does limit the spin to 800, which is good for reducing creases. You can also turn it off or reduce it. You can't go higher than 800 though, and this will be a multi-burst final spin with a little bit of an anti-crease tumble in between, which is nice. And finally you've got your quick 30. This will be the daily quick cycle renamed, because in Eco 4060 legislation you can't have anything called daily or everyday. It's ridiculous. But yeah, so that's daily quick, just renamed. And because it's temp on dial, you can only have it at 30 degrees, which is a shame. But you can, never mind, I won't talk about that. So we got 1200 spin maximum by default, which is great. You can also obviously decrease that as you wish. And I'm just going to turn it back to Cson to talk about two of the only options we get on this machine. So you've obviously got your time delay. You can have 3 hours, 6 hours, 9 hours, and obviously start immediately. And as it goes through the time delay, it will decrease. So it will display 9 when it's obviously at the 9 hour stage. Then it will go 6, then it will go 3. Not sure what it does in between because I've never used it. And also we've got the rinse hold function, which is just there. So that will keep your clothes suspended in the softener rinse water, and it basically won't do the final spin until you tell it to, in which case that will flash, and also the start will flash, or the ready, like whichever. So yeah, and then you've also got the child lock, which is done by holding these two buttons. Don't think you can do it during, no, you can't do it when it's off, but a little padlock icon will display there. I'm not going to start it because the drain hose isn't plumbed in. So yeah, very basic machine, but it has pretty much the features that most people will need. It's got a boil wash, It has several 40-degree washes, and it's got a hand wash cycle. So that's what most people are going to use. So yeah, well, thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, then please leave a like.